It doesn't feel very realistic to me at this point because of the trappings of fame. A couple of them were from people that were embedded most likely in the culture of plural marriage.
The audacity just hit different this time. Kody Brown sat down with Access Hollywood in 2024 and delivered what might be the most delusional statement in Sister Wives history, and that's saying something considering we've watched this man for over a decade. He looked straight into that camera and claimed he's too famous now for real love. Too famous. Kody Brown, the man whose own wives couldn't wait to escape his presence, is now convinced women only want him because of his celebrity status. Here's exactly what went down.
Robin and I are married, we're lovers, we have a great relationship.
Kody explained that women have been reaching out to him, allegedly interested in joining his rapidly shrinking family. But instead of taking this as normal human interest, he's decided these women couldn't possibly want him for authentic reasons. According to Kody, the trappings of fame make it impossible for him to trust anyone's genuine affection. He called attention from women dangerous, as if he's some kind of irresistible celebrity heartthrob dodging paparazzi, instead of a reality TV personality whose family publicly imploded on national television.
Going to special forces, if I could, a phoenix metaphor, I wanted to burn my old self down and rise again.
The man who spent years emotionally neglecting his wives is now worried that women might not love him for the right reasons. He mentioned that both he and Robin have been approached by women interested in their lifestyle, but he can't take any of it seriously because, in his mind, fame has corrupted the dating pool. He even joked about sharing one woman's email with Robin like it was some hilarious story, as if the idea of genuine interest in him is so absurd it's become comedy material.
Vulnerability. I'm naturally vulnerable, and she loves that about me. And so I lay my burdens at her feet, and she is sweet about it.
And this is the same man whose wives spent decades begging for basic affection and attention. The same man who admitted on camera to not being attracted to Christine from day one of their marriage. The same man who emotionally checked out of multiple relationships while his wives raised his children and managed his households. But now, suddenly, he's concerned about authenticity in romantic connections. The timing of this revelation feels particularly rich. Just as Christine Brown has found genuine happiness with her new husband David Woolley, just as she's glowing in ways we never saw during her 27 years with Kody, he's out here claiming fame has made real love impossible for him. The contrast couldn't be more stark or more telling. But here's where this story takes a turn that every woman who's ever felt unappreciated in a relationship will recognize.
I needed to apologize because these people that I'm apologizing to are still very mad. Mostly, I knew that it had to start with the exes, though.
Christine didn't just quietly move on from this man. She wrote an entire book detailing exactly what life with Kody was really like, and the revelations make his current fame concerns look absolutely ridiculous. Christine's memoir, Becoming Sister Wives, landed like a truth bomb in the middle of Kody's fame fantasy, and the revelations inside make his current complaints about women only wanting him for celebrity status sound absolutely laughable. Because here's what Christine documented about their actual marriage. There was never any real love or attraction to begin with. None. From day one. Picture this scene that Christine courageously shared with the world. On her wedding night, the night that was supposed to be the beginning of their spiritual journey together, Kody looked his new bride in the eyes and told her he wasn't attracted to her. Not eventually, not sometimes, not even a little bit. He admitted from the very start that physical and emotional attraction simply wasn't there for him. This woman spent her wedding night hearing that the man she'd committed her life to felt nothing for her, beyond polygamist obligation. Christine wrote that their entire marriage was built on duty, not desire. While other couples were navigating the normal challenges of building intimacy and connection, Christine was trying to earn basic affection from a man who'd already decided she wasn't worthy of it. She documented years of withholding, years of feeling unwanted, years of hoping things might change if she just tried harder, loved better, gave more of herself. The woman spent 27 years in a marriage where she was openly told she wasn't desirable, where affection was rationed like a scarce resource, where her husband's attention felt like a privilege rather than a given. She raised his children, managed his household, participated in his reality show, and smiled through family gatherings while knowing her own husband found her fundamentally unappealing. And now this same man is worried that women might not want him for authentic reasons? The man who couldn't muster authentic attraction for his own wife is concerned about the authenticity of others' feelings toward him? The irony is so thick you could cut it with Christine's wedding cake knife. Christine's book doesn't just document one bad marriage, it exposes a pattern of emotional manipulation that makes his current fame complaints look like another deflection tactic. Every time there was a problem in their relationship, it was somehow Christine's fault. Every time she needed more attention or affection, she was being too demanding. Every time she expressed unhappiness, she wasn't being grateful enough for the life he'd provided. But the most devastating revelation in Christine's memoir wasn't about their romantic relationship at all. It was about the moment she realized Kody's neglect extended beyond her to their children, and that's when everything changed. Let's step back and examine the bigger picture here, because Kody's "I'm too famous for real love" excuse fits perfectly into a decades-long pattern that Christine and the other sister wives have been documenting for years. This isn't just about one delusional interview. This is about a man who has never, not once, taken responsibility for the failure of his relationships. When Mary and Kody's marriage crumbled, it was because Mary was too demanding, too emotional, too difficult to please. When Janelle grew distant and practical in their interactions, it was because she wasn't romantic enough, wasn't giving him what he needed as a husband. When Christine finally left after 27 years of trying to earn his love, it was because she wasn't committed enough to the principle of plural marriage. Notice the pattern? Every single relationship failure gets blamed on the woman involved, never on Kody's behavior. Now we're watching the exact same playbook with this same excuse. Women are interested in him, which should be flattering and potentially promising for someone whose family has publicly dissolved. But instead of seeing this as an opportunity for genuine connection, he's preemptively decided these women couldn't possibly want him for real reasons. It's not that he's emotionally unavailable, controlling, or demonstrated a pattern of treating wives poorly on national television for over a decade. No, the problem is that he's just too famous and desirable for authentic love to exist. This deflection tactic serves multiple purposes for Kody. First, it protects his ego from having to examine why 3 out of 4 wives chose to leave him. Second, it positions him as the victim of his own success rather than the architect of his own relationship disasters. Third, it allows him to avoid the vulnerability of actually trying to connect with someone new because he's already decided it's impossible. But here's what makes this particular excuse so telling. Kody isn't A-list famous. He's not even B-list famous. He's reality TV famous, which means people know him specifically because they've watched his relationships fail spectacularly. They've seen him prioritize one wife over others, neglect his children, and handle conflict with all the emotional maturity of a teenager having a tantrum. If women are still interested despite watching all of that play out publicly, wouldn't that suggest they might actually see something worth pursuing? Instead, Kody has decided that his minor celebrity status makes him undateable, which is convenient because it means he never has to risk being vulnerable, never has to work on his patterns, never has to face the possibility that he might get rejected for legitimate reasons rather than superficial ones. Meanwhile, Christine was documenting the real breaking point that finally gave her the strength to walk away from this pattern of blame and deflection forever. The moment that shattered Christine's willingness to accept Kody's excuses didn't happen in their bedroom or during one of their relationship discussions. It happened when their daughter truly got seriously ill, and Kody's response revealed everything Christine needed to know about his priorities and his character. Christine wrote about this breaking point with the clarity of a woman who had finally seen enough. Truly was experiencing severe health problems, the kind that require immediate parental attention and advocacy. This was Christine's baby, sick and needing her father's support and presence. And where was Kody during this crisis? Emotionally checked out, physically absent, treating his daughter's health emergency like an inconvenience in his schedule rather than the family priority it should have been. Christine watched the man she'd spent decades trying to please fail at the most basic requirement of fatherhood, showing up when your child needs you. That's when something crystallized for Christine. She'd spent 27 years making excuses for Kody's behavior, accepting his explanations for why he couldn't love her the way she deserved, convincing herself that plural marriage meant settling for scraps of attention and affection. But watching him neglect their sick child crossed a line that even Christine's extraordinary patience couldn't accommodate. In her memoir and subsequent interviews, Christine detailed the emotional abuse that had become so normalized, she barely recognized it anymore. Kody would withhold affection as punishment, make her feel grateful for basic consideration, and gaslight her into believing her needs for love and attention were unreasonable within plural marriage. He'd built a system where Christine constantly had to earn what should have been freely given, where her worth as a wife was always conditional on her perfect compliance with his ever-changing expectations. Christine wrote about years of walking on eggshells, trying to anticipate Kody's moods, competing with sister wives for basic acknowledgement from their shared husband. She described the exhaustion of loving someone who treated your love like a burden rather than a gift. She documented conversations where Kody made her feel selfish for wanting more time, more affection, more consideration in their relationship. But perhaps most devastatingly, Christine revealed that she'd spent years believing Kody's explanations for why their marriage felt so empty. He convinced her that spiritual marriage meant sacrifice, that her unhappiness was a character flaw, that real wives and plural families learned to be content with whatever attention they received. She'd internalized his blame-shifting so completely that she questioned her own reality. The woman who's now being positioned as firing back at Kody's fame delusions spent decades being told her feelings were invalid, her needs were excessive, and her unhappiness was her own fault. Understanding that context makes her current confidence and clarity feel even more powerful. Fast forward to Christine's life after Kody, and the transformation is so dramatic it reads like a fairy tale, except it's completely real and happening in real time on social media for everyone to witness. In 2023, Christine married David Woolley, and the difference in her energy is so stark, it's like watching someone come alive after decades of sleepwalking through their own life. The Christine we see now glows. There's no other word for it. Her social media posts show a woman who's rediscovered laughter, spontaneity, and genuine joy. She's traveling, she's playful with her husband, she's confident in ways we never saw during 27 years of marriage to Kody. Fans constantly comment that she looks younger, happier, more vibrant than she ever did on Sister Wives. It's the kind of transformation that happens when someone finally stops apologizing for taking up space in their own life. David Woolley treats Christine like she's precious, like her happiness matters, like her thoughts and feelings are worth hearing and considering. He posts about her with genuine affection and pride. He includes her in decisions, supports her relationship with her children, and shows up for her consistently. It's everything Christine described wanting from Kody, but never receiving, and now she has it with someone who seems as delighted by her presence as she is by his. The contrast between Christine's current marriage and her descriptions of life with Kody couldn't be more dramatic. Where Kody withheld affection, David is generous with it. Where Kody made her compete for attention, David makes her feel like his priority. Where Kody blamed her for relationship problems, David seems to approach challenges as a team effort. Christine went from begging for crumbs to being served a full feast of genuine partnership. And here's what makes this transformation particularly relevant to Kody's fame excuse. Christine found this love immediately after leaving him. She didn't need to work through years of therapy, didn't need to completely reinvent herself, didn't need to overcome major personal obstacles. She simply needed to get away from someone who was incapable of loving her properly and find someone who could. The speed of her happiness suggests the problem was never Christine's worthiness or capacity for love. The problem was Kody. Christine has also become more direct in interviews about Kody's patterns of deflection and blame shifting. She's called out his inability to take responsibility for relationship failures, his tendency to make every problem someone else's fault, and his skill at making his wives feel grateful for the bare minimum. The woman who once protected his reputation and made excuses for his behavior now speaks with the clarity of someone who's seen the difference between authentic love and manipulative control. While Kody's out here claiming fame makes real love impossible, Christine is living proof that real love was always possible. She just needed to find someone capable of offering it. The internet's response to Kody's "I'm too famous for real love" declaration has been swift, brutal, and absolutely hilarious. Social media lit up with reactions that ranged from confused laughter to outright mockery, because apparently the collective audience has been watching a very different show than the one Kody thinks he's starring in. Twitter users immediately began posting side-by-side comparisons of Kody's fame claims versus his actual reality TV presence. They're sharing clips of his most cringeworthy moments, his worst relationship failures, and his most delusional statements, asking exactly what kind of fame he thinks he's achieved. The general consensus seems to be that if this is what passes for too famous, then most people would prefer obscurity. Facebook groups dedicated to Sister Wives discussion have been having an absolute field day with this revelation. Women in these groups are sharing their own experiences with men who blame external circumstances for their inability to maintain relationships, and they're recognizing Kody's excuse as a classic deflection tactic. They're calling out the audacity of a man whose marriages failed on national television, now claiming that his minor celebrity status prevents authentic connections. But here's where the fan response gets particularly interesting. They're pointing out that Christine has become significantly more popular and beloved than Kody ever was. Her social media engagement is higher, her fan support is more genuine, and her storyline has more people invested. If anyone in the Brown family has achieved the kind of fame that might complicate dating, it would be Christine, not Kody. Yet she managed to find authentic love almost immediately after leaving him. Instagram comments on Kody's posts and interviews have become a masterclass in collective eye-rolling. Fans are sharing screenshots of his fame claims alongside photos of Christine's obvious happiness with David, creating these perfect before and after comparisons that tell the real story. They're noting that Christine found love with someone who has no connection to reality TV, someone who wanted her for exactly who she is rather than her connection to a failing television show. The Sister Wives subreddit has been particularly savage, with users creating memes about Kody's fame that highlight just how delusional this excuse really is. They're sharing statistics about the show's declining ratings, the family's reduced cultural relevance, and the fact that most people associate the Brown name with relationship dysfunction rather than aspirational lifestyle choices. TikTok creators are making reaction videos that break down the psychology behind Kody's excuse, explaining how this type of blame shifting protects someone from having to examine their own behavior or take responsibility for relationship patterns. They're educating viewers about the difference between someone who can't find love because of external circumstances versus someone who creates their own obstacles to avoid vulnerability and accountability. The cosmic irony of this entire situation is so perfect it feels like the universe has a sense of humor. Here's Kody Brown claiming that fame has made authentic love impossible for him, while his ex-wife Christine is out here living her absolute best life with a man who couldn't care less about reality TV drama. The timing couldn't be more poetic if a screenwriter had crafted it specifically to highlight the absurdity of Kody's excuses. Let's examine what actually happened here. Christine left Kody after decades of trying to earn his love and attention. Within months of that separation becoming final, she met David Woolley through completely normal circumstances, not through the show or because of her television connection. David fell for Christine the person, not Christine the reality TV personality. He wanted her for her laugh, her kindness with her children, her strength, her capacity for joy once she was free to express it naturally. David didn't slide into her DMs because she was famous. He didn't pursue her because he wanted to be part of a television storyline or gain access to celebrity circles. He met her, got to know her as an individual human being, and decided she was exactly who he wanted to build a life with. It's the kind of authentic connection that Kody claims is impossible in his current famous circumstances. Meanwhile, Kody's sitting in interviews explaining that women's interest in him feels dangerous and unrealistic because they might be motivated by his celebrity status. The man who spent years making his wives feel like their love was burdensome is now worried that new women might not love him for pure enough reasons. He's created this perfect catch-22 where he can't trust anyone's affection because he's convinced himself that his minor fame has corrupted every possible romantic interaction. But here's what makes this irony even more delicious. Christine has significantly more genuine fan support and social media engagement than Kody does. If anyone in this family has achieved the kind of popularity that might attract people with ulterior motives, it would be her. Yet she navigated that landscape successfully and found authentic love with someone who has zero interest in being part of her public life. Christine's relationship with David proves that real love absolutely can exist for someone connected to reality television. The key is being emotionally available, genuinely attractive as a person, and capable of reciprocating the kind of love you hope to receive. Christine demonstrated all of those qualities once she was free from a relationship that had trained her to hide them. Kody's fame excuse becomes even more transparent when you consider that Christine's dating pool theoretically included all the same risks he's describing. She could have attracted people interested in her television connection, her financial situation, or her social media following. Instead, she found someone who makes her laugh, supports her relationship with her children, and treats her like a priority rather than an option. Let's pause for a moment and talk about what we're really witnessing here. Because Kody's behavior offers a masterclass in emotional manipulation tactics that every woman should recognize. This isn't just reality TV drama, these are patterns that show up in relationships across every socioeconomic level, every age group, and every community. Understanding these red flags could save someone years of questioning their own worth. Red flag number 1 is preemptive blame shifting. Watch how Kody sets up his fame excuse before any relationship even begins. He's already decided that if future romantic connections don't work out, it won't be because of his behavior, his emotional availability, or his demonstrated patterns. It'll be because women only wanted him for superficial reasons. This creates a no-win situation where he gets to avoid accountability no matter what happens. If you've ever dated someone who seemed to have an excuse ready before problems even developed, you've encountered this tactic. Red flag number 2 is the vulnerability shield. Kody's fame concerns protect him from having to risk genuine emotional intimacy. If he's convinced that authentic love is impossible due to his circumstances, he never has to be vulnerable, never has to work on his relationship skills, never has to face the possibility of rejection based on his actual personality and behavior. Men who create elaborate explanations for why they can't fully commit or be emotionally present are often using these stories to avoid the scarier prospect of actually trying and potentially failing. Red flag number 3 is the pattern of making partners feel responsible for relationship problems while positioning themselves as victims of circumstances beyond their control. Christine spent decades believing she wasn't loving enough, wasn't supportive enough, wasn't grateful enough for the life Kody provided. Now he's setting up his next potential partners to believe they're not authentic enough, not pure enough in their motivations, not capable of loving him for the right reasons. Here's what healthy relationship thinking looks like as a contrast. When Christine met David, she didn't spend months analyzing his motivations or testing his authenticity. She paid attention to how he treated her, how he made her feel, and whether his actions matched his words. She trusted her own ability to recognize genuine affection and reciprocate it. She didn't need elaborate theories about why love might be impossible. She just needed someone capable of offering real love. The most empowering lesson from Christine's story might be recognizing how quickly life can change once you stop accepting explanations that make you feel small. Christine didn't need years of recovery from her marriage to Kody. She needed distance from someone who had trained her to question her own worth and lovability. Christine's story has become a rallying cry for women across social media platforms, and the response reveals just how many people have lived through similar experiences of being made to feel unworthy of basic love and respect. The comments on her posts, the messages in Sister Wives discussion groups, and the reaction videos on TikTok all tell variations of the same story. Women recognizing their own experiences in Christine's journey from self-doubt to self-advocacy. Women are sharing their own stories of relationships where they were told their needs were too much, their expectations were unrealistic, their unhappiness was their own responsibility to fix. They're talking about partners who had elaborate explanations for why they couldn't provide basic affection, consistency, or consideration. They're recognizing the pattern of being made to feel grateful for the bare minimum, while simultaneously being blamed for wanting more. The Facebook groups dedicated to Sister Wives have become unofficial support networks where women discuss the difference between someone who can't love you properly and someone who chooses not to. They're breaking down the distinction between legitimate relationship challenges and manipulative deflection tactics. They're sharing resources about emotional abuse, love bombing, and the cycle of blame that keeps people trapped in unfulfilling relationships. What's particularly powerful is watching women realize they're not alone in having accepted treatment that they now recognize as unacceptable. Christine's transformation has given them permission to examine their own relationships with fresh eyes. They're asking themselves the questions Christine eventually learned to ask. Why am I working so hard to earn something that should be freely given? Why am I accepting explanations that make me feel like the problem? What would it feel like to be with someone who actually wanted to be with me? Instagram comments on Christine's posts have become celebrations of women choosing themselves. They're sharing photos of their own glow-ups after leaving unfulfilling relationships, their own stories of finding partners who treat them with genuine care and respect. They're creating a community around the revolutionary idea that you don't have to convince someone to love you properly. The younger women following this storyline are getting an education in red flags and healthy relationship patterns that could save them years of settling for less than they deserve. They're seeing what it looks like when someone chooses their own happiness over maintaining a facade, when someone decides their peace is worth more than other people's comfort with their situation. Christine has become proof that it's never too late to change your life, never too late to demand what you deserve, never too late to walk away from someone who makes you feel small. Her story resonates because it's ultimately about reclaiming power that was always yours, but that someone convinced you to hand over. So here we stand, watching the most beautiful kind of justice unfold in real time. Kody Brown sits in interviews claiming he's too famous for authentic love, while Christine Brown lives every single day as walking, breathing proof that he's absolutely wrong. She didn't need to overcome fame obstacles or navigate celebrity complications. She just needed to get away from someone incapable of loving her and find someone who could. Christine's entire existence has become the ultimate response to Kody's excuses. While he's crafting elaborate theories about why relationships are impossible for him, she's posting photos of genuine happiness with a man who treats her like she's exactly what he's been looking for, his whole life. While Kody explains why women can't possibly want him for authentic reasons, Christine is living with someone who wanted her so completely that he couldn't wait to marry her. The contrast writes itself. Kody claims women approach him because of fame, and that makes their interest suspicious and dangerous. Christine found love with someone who has zero interest in being part of her public life, but every interest in being part of her private world. Kody worries that his celebrity status corrupts romantic connections. Christine proved that genuine people see past your public circumstances to who you actually are when the cameras stop rolling. But perhaps the most devastating aspect of this whole situation is what Christine's happiness reveals about their original marriage. Her transformation after leaving Kody isn't just about finding new love, it's about rediscovering who she was before someone convinced her she wasn't worth loving properly. The woman glowing in photos with David Woolley was always there, just buried under decades of being made to feel grateful for scraps. Christine's story has become a masterclass in the difference between someone who can't find love due to circumstances and someone who creates obstacles to avoid the vulnerability love requires. She walked away from a man who made her question her own worth and immediately attracted someone who celebrates that worth daily. She didn't need to work on herself, lower her standards, or accept less than she deserved. She needed to raise her standards and find someone capable of meeting them. Every photo Christine posts, every interview where she talks about feeling valued and cherished, every moment of obvious contentment becomes an indirect response to Kody's fame excuse. She's not arguing with his logic or engaging in public debates about his character. She's simply living a life that makes his explanations look ridiculous by comparison. The Sister Wives community, the fans, the women who found inspiration in Christine's journey all understand what's really happening here. This isn't about fame complicating love. This is about someone finally refusing to accept explanations that make them feel small, choosing their own happiness, and discovering that real love was always possible. They just needed to stop asking for it from someone fundamentally incapable of providing it. What do you think? Will Kody eventually run out of excuses for why happiness seems impossible for him, while his ex-wife makes it look effortless? And which moment in Christine's transformation has you cheering the loudest for her courage to choose herself? Don't forget to tap like, hit subscribe, and keep those notifications on. A fresh video is already queued up, and something tells me the next round of Sister Wives drama will be even juicier than the last.